Welcome to our channel. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Remy.
And you're tuned into A Life Worth Loving. Thank you for joining us, and we have a very interesting topic to share, and we actually got some great confirmation in the midst of planning. So tune in, and we're happy to have you with us. So let's get started.
Let's go. So this week we're going to talk about how to set the stage for hard conversations, both in marriage and in dating. And Brandon and I have a very personal connection to this topic because we struggle with that. In the beginning of our dating relationship, we had a very difficult time when it came to having difficult conversations, specifically because we prioritized being right and being heard over the other person's feelings. So it took us some time to understand that when you're working through conflict, it's not necessarily about right and wrong. It's about how I feel in this moment, whether you meant it or not. We also didn't prioritize setting the stage for difficult conversations. I would just have an attitude one day and be like, so babe, we got to talk about blah, 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 blah. And he didn't receive that well. We learned that rushing into a conversation doesn't work, that we have to make sure that we both have time, that we both have patience, we both have the mental capacity to deal with what it is that we need to deal with. Having a conversation on the fly doesn't really work for us. We want to set the tone and set the stage. So
Absolutely.
We have 11 ways to set the stage for hard conversations. And this first point is one that really, really works for me. Like, this is my go-to, even when I don't need to have a conversation, this is just like my thing. And that is, take time to work through what you are feeling independently before taking those feelings to your partner. And I say that for a multitude of reasons, but the main one is oftentimes I just know something is bothering me, but for me to go to him with incomplete thoughts doesn't allow him to properly be there for me and give his perspective and help me work through it. So I have to sit down and take the time to say, this is exactly what's bothering me. When you said this, it made me feel that way. And that way I'm coming to him fully clear. Taking that time also allows me more time to realize, okay, maybe he didn't really mean that. So when I'm writing it down and I'm like, when he said this, I'm like, wait, I know that's not my husband. Maybe he was also going through something. So
yeah, I like that where we take time for one another. It just gives us, like you said, it gives us space to actually analyze what's happening. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times we're in the moment and we're feeling some type of way, but when you take time to really digest what happened, and Remy will journal on it. Sometimes I'll journal, but a lot of times I'll just sit back and think. Sometimes I'm driving, I'm like, that was messed up, but we actually think about each other's heart posture, right? And then if Remy says something to me, I may feel some type of way in the midst of it, but I know who Remy is. At the end of the day, we have to remember who we're with, So I remember, I go back and I just think about who my wife is, and I'm like, she didn't mean no harm by it. So at the end of the day, I know me personally, I have to take time, because if I say things off the whim a lot, it just doesn't come out correctly. I have to really be intentional on how I speak to Remy, and I try to do that with everyone now. Actually, being with Remy and being married with Remy, it's being married to Remy. It's it helped me with other relationships, because my baby is, I have to be tender with her. She's sensitive. So I have to just, bring it all back and be like, okay, Brandon, talk to your baby, Of course, I say what you mean, but there doesn't have to be a lot of heat and attitude behind it. It doesn't have to be that deep, especially when you know who your wife is or who your partner is. It doesn't matter who you're speaking to at that moment. But that's what I do. Is okay, let me take the time to understand, to be clear, and also be intentional with how I communicate. So that's what it gives me the space to just set that tone and relax and keep my composure, so we can have a conversation, and also I can hear, Remy.
Yeah.
A lot of time, like Remy says, just to reiterate, we actually don't. Me personally, I wasn't hearing Remy. I was waiting for her to be done so I can say what I had to say. the more we listen, it's actually we don't have to say what we have to say because you know I can get Remy the way she needs to be got.
That encompassed honestly like 15 of our points, but for the actual second point, you led us into that a little bit, and that is to be prepared to clearly communicate what is bothering you from a my perspective instead of a you perspective.
For sure.
And the reason why this one is so important for us is because we shut down when the finger is just constantly pointed. Like say, you did this, you did that, you did this, you do that. Like no one really responds well to that. So instead of having the approach of you, it's so much more beneficial to take it and say, I felt disrespected when you said X, Y, and Z in a public space to me.
For sure.
Or I felt that I wasn't prioritized in the moment where you decided to do that when we had other plans. So it allows the person to first hear your pain, and instead of automatically becoming offended by what you said.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's our second point.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we have our iPad right here with our notes, so forgive us if you see our eye lines drifting. But once again, we want to come prepared for you and have, stuff that we actually took time to pray about and to plan and to present.
We did our homework.
Yeah. Gonna hit the third one.
So the next one is open the conversation with a prayer to honor your marriage, your partner, and recognize their sadness and whatever they're going through in that moment. And I think that's vital. I mean, you can even pray individually before you go into the conversation, but it's just the power of prayer. When you bring it together, you actually get to bring your partner in and what you discuss with the Lord, and what you truly want. How you're truly releasing your anger or your frustration, and letting your partner know, like, okay, this it's all good, it's all calm over here.
Yeah, you're softening the room.
For sure.
Because like oftentimes when you're about to have a hard conversation, you both feel a little stubborn. You both feel like what you have to say is more important than the other, and you naturally like have a little bit of tension.
Yeah, the edge is
there.
Yeah.
So it helps us so much to open in prayer, because it reminds us of the sacredness of our happiness. Like we want to preserve happiness in our marriage above being right in our marriage. So when we can come together before a difficult conversation and just say like, Lord, we invite you into this space. We welcome you into this conversation. Lord, hide us and allow you to be more visible and allow you to speak louder than us. Put away all of our offenses and allow us to communicate with our hearts and allow us to see our partner for who they truly are. And there's something about praying with your partner about softening your heart to have the conversation that actually softens the tone of the conversation. So that's been really helpful for us.
For sure. I just thought of something. It actually unlocks the peace that it unlocks the peace for our conversation, right? Because if we don't pray, it's all arrogance. It's all me.
Prayer
and it's all you.
Us.
It humbles us.
Yeah.
It says, hey, listen, I'm releasing everything that I got. You're releasing everything that you got. We come in with our pure hearts, intentions to hear you.
Yeah.
Like everything else, it's over.
Our next point is setting the tone. So, and we know this is a difficult one because obviously you're upset with your partner and in that moment to need to even have the conversation, but maybe starting with some affection could be good, like kissing your partner or holding your partner's hand.
Sure.
And even reassuring them, like, I'm upset, you hurt my feelings, but I love you and I really want to work through this. And while reassuring them, like, just throwing some physical touch in there.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes when you're a little upset, you don't want to kiss your partner, but this is just a friendly tip. We've tried, we've done it, but also just that compassion, like, hey babe, I'm hurt in this moment, and I really want to let you know how I feel, and I want to come to you, and I don't want to fight about this. I don't want to hurt your feelings as I'm trying to get my point across, but understand that I have something to say, and I mean no harm by it. I just want to put it on the table so you can feel so you can see how I feel, and hopefully we can come to a solution. So kiss your partner, hug your partner, just touch your partner, because it's all love. Like at the end of the day, y'all gonna kiss at the at the end.
Hopefully.
So,
That's our last point. But yeah, that was a great way to start a conversation. Maybe you should open every argument with me like that. And I'm like, okay, baby, it's fine. I'm sorry.
Listen, babe, I got something to say right now.
I got something to say. You going to listen? Strong arm you. Our next point, schedule time with your partner to work through conflict. Put the phones away. Make sure you have undivided attention for each other. Light a candle if you're at home. Like, really set the mood. Just like you would set the mood romantically, you should set the mood when it's time for hard conversations. If you and your partner more on the active side, then go for a walk and talk about it. But just like be as intentional with all the good parts of your marriage as you are with working to get back to the good parts of your marriage. So for us, we like to light the candle and
or go for a walk.
It just depends on the day. But both of those have worked for us. And it also just shows us that we care about solving whatever it is that we're going through, that we don't want discord. So to just take that time to be intentional about setting the stage and setting the mood is vital. This
is work. It's no walk in the park, right? So you have to be creative. As I said, it's work. The things you do for your job, you should actually bring it into your relationship to keep this going. Set, like, being intentional with creating time, scheduling, being creative with communication. Some people like to text, some people like to email, some people want to talk in person. So work with your partner and come to a common ground on how you're going to communicate with them.
Yeah, that's important.
So
our next point is to understand the goal. The goal of any argument or any hard discussion with your spouse is to get on the same page and to reconnect, not to drift further apart. So if you can keep that in mind, even if you're the person who did the hurting or is the one who ended up like causing pain to the other person, understand that the goal is to make it better. So don't try so hard to just like, but this is what I meant. And
don't get stuck.
Don't get stuck defending yourself. Like, whatever it takes to acknowledge that, okay, if you're hurt, it happened. And I'm really sorry, I didn't mean it. I don't want to have this distance with you. The goal is to reconnect. So just keep that at the forefront whenever the conversation starts to feel a little, when you start to feel tension in the conversation.
That resistance, you don't want that. So at the end of the day, just stay on track with the end goal, to come to a common ground, and don't get caught up in how you meant to communicate to that person, and because that can lead to invalidating how that person feels. Just let them know that you didn't mean it, and then we go forward. And of course, we're going to learn from our lessons. We're not going to repeat what we've done. So it's important to also communicate to not that we're not gonna repeat these actions, and we're gonna do our best to prevent this from happening again. Now that we had this conversation, and that's what actually helped us. That's what's helping us. On a day to day, we're just like everyone out here. We're trying every single day, but at the same time, when we do have conflict, we are prioritizing
solving it.
Exactly. Prioritizing the solution.
That's important. Unity in a marriage. I say all that to say unity. That's all. That's not another point. So that brings us to our next point, which is to have an understanding and forgiving heart. And that basically just means to go into the conversation, even if you're the one who was wronged, to go into the conversation understanding that, like, we all do make mistakes. And as my spouse, I have to forgive you, because if I hold on to this, it's going to turn into resentment. So either you're forgiving the person and you're moving on from it, or you're not. And what's the point of being in a marriage where you have resentment? So we just want to encourage you to have more grace for your person and to genuinely work towards releasing the hurt and the pain and any sort of crisis or conflict that may have been done to you during the pain points that you're discussing.
Right, because love counts no wrongdoings.
Yeah.
It's important for us to be patient and with our partners. We all make mistakes, so I think the underlining to our foundation is grace at the end of the day, because I make tons of mistakes. And Remy will show her grace every single time. You know, just being patient with me. You know, as a man, sometimes it's difficult to communicate with us, and it's difficult for us to really let things out. So for us to have patience with one another and give us grace and give us the floor to speak, that's so important.
Yeah. And God gives us grace, so it's just our duty to reciprocate that. Like, how many times have we needed grace? Like, how many times have we been on the other side of it where we're like, oh Lord, like, thank you for sparing me in that moment. And the same way he spares us in that moment, we need to spare our spouse. And of course, like, we're not condoning abuse or anything like that. Like, don't get this twisted and think you have to forgive. You do have to forgive, but don't get it twisted and think you have to give your spouse grace for beating you, or give your spouse grace for tormenting you mentally and emotionally. None of that is okay. And we wanna like clearly distinct that we're not talking about grace in those areas.
Absolutely not. Yeah, just in an honorable way.
Yeah.
You know, the things that are supposed to be done in a marriage, the things that are honorable in a relationship, those are what we look forward to. The expectations when they're, you know, when you're outside of those boundaries, you know, there's other you know, ways to handle those things. But within a relationship, you want to honor those expectations for your relationship.
Yeah.
And that's what we're discussing here.
Yeah, we're discussing falling short of your natural expectation.
And our next point is tabling the conversation. Many times in our situations, we have got very heated, and you know, we just had to just be like, listen, babe, we can't do this right now. I can't do this.
You can't do this.
You can't do this. It's just
one of us going to die.
It's just too hot in here, right? So we have to refocus by tabling this conversation. I'm gonna come back. Hopefully, you know, we could talk about this tomorrow at a later time. We can schedule this. It's important to schedule it. Make sure, you know, your partner has the time to talk about this, and you have the time to talk about it. It can't be it can't be one-sided. So when things cool off, we're gonna come back and finish this conversation, and that's the important part about tabling a conversation. In our past, we've tabled conversations and we didn't circle back to finish them, and that led to, you know, things getting hotter.
Yeah, it's like sweeping under the rug. Like, you can't just table a conversation and not get back to it, because you still feel all the things that you felt when you couldn't actually get through it. So to table it doesn't make it go away. You're supposed to use that time to further analyze what it is that you're feeling and what it is that your partner is feeling, and refocus when you come back to it. Yeah. So that, like Brandon said, that's something that we had to really hold each other accountable for, is going back to the conversations that we didn't get to finish in enough time. And that is why scheduling the conversation is important. Our next point is to take turns speaking, to listen, and don't interrupt. Let the person finish. And I know what we got to say is so important, but interrupting your partner turns into a whole nother conflict. So now you're not only solving what the problem is originally, you're adding another layer of disrespect that you have to now work through. So to eliminate all the extra things that comes out of a conversation going wrong is to be as compassionate as you can with listening. And as we talked about in our other video, scripture says, be quick to listen and be slow to speak. Yeah. So that's something that we try to practice, and like, really listen. Don't just listen until it's time for you to talk. Right. Like, listen so you can hear your partner, respond to what your partner is going through, and also, like, of course, throw your points in there too. But listen. Yeah. Listen. I see this active listening.
Yeah, I see this thing on social media all the time. It's like, I feel seen. Right? Yeah. Like, everybody wants to be seen at the end of the day. Yeah. So just reciprocate that, you know, like, let your partner feel seen. You know, that's at the end of the day, that's all we want. Yeah. So if we can partner that way, and Remy can feel seen and I can feel seen, and then we can come to a common ground, it's all good. But if you just want to be seen and not want to reciprocate that, then that's a recipe for disaster. Yeah. And that's not what we want for y'all. That's not what we want for us. Yeah. Right? So we gotta make you feel seen.
Make you feel seen. All right, we're almost done. This is fun. So our next point is do not invalidate your partner's feelings, even if you were genuinely misunderstood. Like, you could have had the purest of intentions. You could back up what you said 100% and really, really, really not feel like you did anything wrong. You still have to understand that that person's feelings are hurt, and then address the hurt feelings. You do not have to defend yourself. Just address the hurt feelings. Like, baby, I'm so sorry.
It took a long time for me to get that.
It took him so long to get there. Yeah. But it's that simple to be like, oh my God, baby, I am so sorry that I hurt you that way. I'm so sorry that what I said made you feel that way. Of course, it is never my intention to bring you down or to make you feel like you're not heard, or that I'm not listening to you, that you're not seen, that I don't prioritize us. And moving forward, I understand that now, that the way I did it wasn't received the way I intended. And that's just it.
That's a tough lesson.
That's all and the conversation is over.
Right.
Like, it's over. It's done. It's like, oh, thank you for apologizing. Like, that's all you need.
I feel seen now.
Yeah, I feel seen. All right.
So our next point is funny because this conversation is so layered. We are circling back, but this one is always speak from a place of love, not from a place of hurt. Because, hurt people. Yeah. And love people. So when you speak from a place of love, you can't go wrong. Like, the hurt, it's just a bite, honestly. And we don't want to bite our partner or, the person that we're in front of. We want to just, come, with love and let them know what we're going through at that moment. Just be vulnerable. Let them in. Sometimes we are, sorry, babe, I mean.
Oh, no, I'm cutting you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, when we come from a place of hurt, it's not pure. You're not saying what you truly feel. You're just saying, like, how you feel. And that's like you're losing track of what's actually has happened. So, which one you want to take it from there, babe?
I just want to say that I'd even like to challenge us all further to speak from love in every conversation, not just when we're solving conflict, but when we're day-to-day communicating with our partner, when we're communicating with our employees, our employers, our friends, whoever it is, our parents, our aunties and uncles, whoever it is that you're talking to, communicate from a place of love, and you'll find that you have way less discord in all of your relationships across the board.
Yeah, I totally can attest to that. Like, I was a little rough, a little harsh.
Not my baby.
Yeah, that was a tough one for me to learn, and I just want to encourage everyone out there to not give up. We're never going to hit the mark every single time, but just keep going and come from a place of love and be intentional on what you have to say and how you say things, because it'll go a long way. As long as we continue to do things our way and just not dying to self, it's never gonna work out. Where the connection that we have with people is a service base. It's like, how can I help you? How can you help me?
How can I serve you?
How can I serve you?
Yeah, right. And serving, you got to do that through love, or it's not genuine.
Right. You want to honor thy neighbor.
Yeah. Our final point is, drum roll please, communicate through. And by communicate through, we mean talk it all out, hear each other out, give your perspective, listen, do all the things that we just named, and then figure out next steps. Like, what are the action steps that you're going to take to not have the same argument again? Because you'll have so many other disagreements. Like, knowing how to fight is critical. It's crucial. Yep. One of our LA dads said to us, "Do you guys know how to fight?" And we're like, "You see these hands?" No. And he was like, "No, it's important to know how to fight." And I think that's so important, because you're going to have these conflicts more times than you like, but don't have the same ones. So when you're communicating through and you're discussing next steps, a part of that is making sure that you're not going to have the same conflict again. And
if you have the same conflict again, it'll get easier to get through that, right? You know, you can apply what you learn, you know, and we're getting there too. It's like, we may not go through the same things, but we're learning how to fight. We're not throwing punches, you know, we're throwing statements of love, getting the point across, and it's like, okay, I heard you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, babe. I'm gonna take that with me. I'm not gonna do that again.
Yeah.
So it's important to, get there.
Yeah. And a part of that communicating through is ending with affection. So I know we like to open with affection, but it's also good to close with it. We tried this like stupid trust fall. It didn't work. We tried it like twice. We're like, this is
The
dumb.
trust fall was funny.
It was funny, but we just didn't keep going with it. We should think of another like thing, like another silly thing to end our tough conversations, because it also just like puts you into a playful mode.
Yeah. I missed the trust fall. That was fun.
You want to go back to trust fall?
Yeah, let's do the trust fall.
But yeah, we would trust fall because I don't want to do a trust fall with you if I'm not over it. So if I'm not willing to do the trust fall, we still need to talk.
For sure, yep.
So we hope that you enjoyed our points for setting a stage to have hard conversations. And we just hope that we were able to encourage you and inspire you and give you some pointers that'll help you in your everyday life.
Yeah, this was good. And if you have any tips for us, let us know.
Give it to us.
Hit us up in the comments, the chat. Let us know, because we always need encouragement. We always need some help.
Yeah.
And we hope that this
topic,
we hope this topic blessed you as much as it blessed us.
Yeah.
And we're gonna keep applying our advice to our relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One last thing, actually 2 quick things before we go.
Okay, let's do it.
One, I just wanted to tell them about the confirmation that we received while we were trying to figure out what it is that we were going to talk about for this week. And God placed this topic on my heart, and I was sharing it with Brandon. And as we were going through the points, he got a phone call from someone very close to him asking him for advice on how to have a tough conversation. And we're like, if this is not the confirmation from God that we absolutely need to do this episode, then I don't know what it is.
Right. Literally in the middle of our conversation about what we're going to talk about, I got the phone call and I had to take it. It was like late at night, and I'm like, something's not right. Yeah, so that's powerful, and we know this is going to bless someone. I personally didn't like difficult conversations. I still don't, but it's something that we have to do.
Yeah. And the last thing is we have a question, and someone wanted us to explain in a little bit more detail what it means to be equally yoked. So we just wanted to very quickly explain that again. And equally yoked it originally comes from scripture, where we're called to be equally yoked with believers. That also means that we're called to be equally yoked when it comes to wanting the same big things at the same time. So we talked about this in our other video, but even in the financial state, we're not equally yoked if we have plans to pay off our debt, but then I'm buying a couch.
And I'm at the club.
Yeah, so it's like that's not equally yoked, because we agreed on something and one person is deriving and the other person is sticking to it. So that causes imbalance. So anything that causes imbalance causes you to go into the direction of being unequally yoked.
For sure.
So to just walk together, imagine a finish line, and imagine you and your partner walking towards that. You're equally yoked because you're walking in the same direction. You're holding hands. You're going at the same rate. If you are looking at this finish line and your partner's looking over here, you're unequally yoked because you're going in 2 different directions.
Yeah, same direction, no resistance.
Yes.
Boom.
And another thing, we gotta go. Baby has a haircut appointment in 5 minutes. Oh my God.
Sorry, Chase.
But another thing, we hit our 30-week mark. Boom!
30
it's tomorrow. Weeks. Baby's still in there. We're healthy.
Still pregnant.
And we'll do another update on that. But we just wanted to end with some really, really exciting news, because we were told that we were going to lose our child so much. The fact that he's still here is the biggest miracle in the world, and we're so grateful. All right. Love you guys.
Peace, y'all.